We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Job numbers, debt ceiling, Biden's poll ratings drop to new low, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lupkin, and here's the news you need to know. President Biden defended his son Hunter on Friday as federal prosecutors reportedly neared a decision on whether to charge the president's son with tax and firearms violations, which would come following the conclusion of a years-long investigation. In an interview on MSNBC's The 11th Hour, Biden said, "My son has done nothing wrong," adding, "I trust him. I have faith in him." When asked if he was concerned about his son's charges potentially affecting his presidential campaign, Biden reiterated that he stood by Hunter and that it makes me feel proud of him. The president's son has denied any wrongdoing, saying he acted legally and appropriately. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said Sunday there are simply no good options to resolve the debt limit crisis other than a vote by Congress to raise the borrowing cap. Yellen said on ABC's This Week that invoking the 14th Amendment, which says the validity of public debt shall not be questioned, would lead to a constitutional crisis. Constitutional scholars disagree on whether the provision would allow the Biden administration to keep issuing debt beyond the current cap, which the government will hit in June. It's Congress's job to do this, Yellen said. If they fail to do it, we will have an economic and financial catastrophe that will be of our own making. The House has passed a debt ceiling increase that includes spending cuts to rein in U.S. debt. President Biden says he will not agree to spending cuts. To put this in perspective, not agreeing to spending cuts is the equivalent of a family maxing out all their credit cards and getting more credit cards to pay for them without taking actions to control their spending. Despite the recent market volatility and worries over the economy, Berkshire Hathaway CEO Warren Buffett on Saturday provided a calm and steady voice as he fielded questions from shareholders. That's not to say that Buffett doesn't see some turbulence ahead. He said commercial real estate could struggle with higher borrowing rates and banks could face more pressure, but noted that deposits were safe. As for the economy, Buffett noted that his businesses will see lower year-over-year earnings as economic activity slows down. Buffett also doesn't expect the U.S. dollar to be dethroned as the world's reserve currency anytime soon. "We are the reserve currency. I see no option for any other currency to be the reserve currency," he said. The 99-year-old Charlie Munger, Buffett's right-hand man, also commented on artificial intelligence. He said that while going to see a lot of more robotics in the world, he remains skeptical of some of the hype in AI. A railroad worker slammed the Biden administration for helping facilitate infrastructure projects overseas, accusing the president of leaving American railroads behind at home. Railroad mechanic Alec Lace ripped the White House for stabbing railroads in the back over their push for paid sick leave, warning he has made a lot of enemies within the industry after signing a bill to avoid a massive strike. Joe Biden has made a lot of enemies with the railroad workers, Lace told co-host Ashley Stromer Monday on Fox and Friends First. This is a guy that campaigned from the basement, telling the railroad workers, "Hey, I'm one of you guys. I'm Railway Joe. I'm Choo Choo Charlie. I am with you guys." And then what happens? He stabs us in the back by turning down the package that would have gave the railroad workers 7 days of sick pay. Now, Joe Biden takes 7 days a week. But even despite national security concerns, Lace reiterated the dire need for investment in domestic infrastructure projects, citing the challenges associated with government bureaucracy and technological innovation. The railroad system in America is like a technology museum, Lace said. If you want to get into a time machine and see what technology was like 10 years ago, go to any railroad in the United States. Job growth fared better than expected in April, despite bank turmoil and a decelerating economy, the Labor Department reported Friday. Non-farm payrolls increased 253,000 for the month, beating Wall Street estimates for growth of 180,000, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The unemployment rate was 3.4% against an estimate for 3.6%, and tied for the lowest level since 1969. A more encompassing number that includes discouraged workers and those holding part-time jobs for economic reasons edged lower to 6.6%. April's upside surprise, though, was offset by sharp downward revisions in previous months. March's count was slashed to 165,000 jobs, down 71,000 from the initial estimate, while February fell to 248,000, a reduction of 78,000. Also, the household survey, which is used to calculate the unemployment rate, showed a softer total jobs gain of 139,000. President Biden is facing significant headwinds at the start of his re-election campaign, with the vast majority of Americans saying he doesn't have the physical or mental capacity to serve another term, according to a new poll. An ABC News Washington Post poll released Sunday found that 63% of American adults do not think Biden, at age 80, has the mental sharpness it takes to serve effectively as president, compared to only 32% who believe he does and 5% who have no opinion. The number shot up 9 percentage points since the same poll was conducted a year ago, when 54% said he didn't have the mental capacity for the job. The poll found that 62% of Americans do not think Biden is in good enough physical health to serve either, compared to 33% who believe he is and 5% who have no opinion. Biden's job approval ratings also hit a new low at 36%, down 6 points since the same poll was conducted in February, compared to 56% of respondents who disapprove of Biden's performance so far. The majority of Americans also think Trump did a better job at handling the economy than Biden, with 54% supporting Trump's performance, compared to only 36% who think Biden is doing a better job. The shifts in this poll from previous poll indicate a shift in Democrats having a more negative view of Biden. California's reparations task force voted on Saturday to recommend that the state issue a formal apology for slavery and potentially provide billions of dollars in cash payments, moving forward a historic effort to enact remedies and compensation for descendants of African Americans who were enslaved in the U.S. The vote at a public meeting in Oakland marks the beginning of the end of the 9-member panel's 2-year process to craft a report recommending reparations for slavery, which is due to the state legislature by July 1st. The panel recommended $1.2 million to each African American in California. With a cost of over $200 billion, the state, which is currently running a budget deficit, has little to no chance of raising the money needed to pay for this proposal. The report will act as a manual for lawmakers and Governor Gavin Newsom, who established the task force in 2020 to study and gather evidence of the harms of slavery and lasting discrimination, as state elected officials begin their debate. The vote and report have no legal power and is only advisory in nature. That's the raw naked truth. You can catch every episode of The Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.